Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday afternoon here in Los Angeles. And I know I have people from all over the place, but I just want to say happy hump day, as we used to call it back in the day. But you probably get in trouble for that now. I don't even know. I'm scared to even open my mouth these days. But that being said, here we are on another Wednesday. And, as you all, I always enjoy my time with you and having these really great conversations. I just got off this awesome interview for my channel with this amazing, well, he calls himself a detransitioned male. He doesn't necessarily call himself a detransitioner, but he's a male to female detransitioner. Um, fascinating story, and I can't wait to bring the story to you, because it's just I've been getting such great interviews to share because I have never really actually got the chance to interview a male to female detransitioner. Most of all the ones I've interviewed are female to male, so girls transitioning to be men and then detransitioning back to live as women. So he detransitioned back to live as a male. And oh my gosh, his story, I swear, I just want to also say this to everybody out there. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. And thank you so much for seeing really I see everybody. Thanks everybody, all the people who are so now you're becoming regulars. I see you all, and it really just warms my heart that you are giving me the opportunity to have these conversations because without you all subscribing and really listening to these, I wouldn't be able to bring them on. So it really does warm my heart that you have all been really supportive of what I'm doing here and that we all don't agree on everything, which is really what I'm trying to sort of convey in these interviews is that me and the person I'm interviewing don't necessarily agree on everything, but I think what I'm trying to show is that conversation is how we're going to get out of the mess we're in because we're in such a dark period. I just feel it. Such a dark, deep, sociopathic, crazy place in this world. And the fact that we are just so divided, not only in the LGBT community, and I use that loosely, but just across the world politically, um, everything. It just feels like people are just wanting to just stick to their guns and not have any sort of this word nuance has become overused as well, but I guess it's the only way to explain it. So here I see something here that's yeah, we're living in dark times, friends, and it's quite scary to me because I don't necessarily think we should be living in such a dark time. I mean, we have so much. We've advanced as humans on so many levels. I do think technology is bringing great things to this world. And I do think that there's this sort of thing that's happening with technology and humans. And maybe that's causing a little bit of a sort of pushback because humans aren't used to. Okay, so I want to say this real quick. When I was doing the interview this morning, I had said, like, because this person was really about how technology is changing everything. But we both agreed that it's not changing things for the better in the trans community. And they still are really behind when it comes to a lot of these surgeries that they're performing, especially genital surgeries. They don't have any, they should not be doing those surgeries. They do not have advancement in that in any way, shape, or form. And this person actually, oh, thank you, Liza or Lisa. Hi, friend. Thank you, friend. Language is key. Never stop speaking. No, thank you so much. And I'm a big believer of that. And if we start to censor, it's why I named today's live Misrepresented, because I want to tell you the story, but real quick, because here's my brain going crazy. Um, Here in LA, and I think other places of the world, we have these new robotic delivery. They're robots. And they're robots, and they're basically on wheels, and they travel the road out here, and they deliver your food. And I'm every time this 60-year-old brain of mine looks and I see this little thing traveling across the street and stopping at the stop sign and making a right and going, it just blows my mind. But on some level, this is where we're sort of headed to a very more sort of technological space, and are we prepared? Are me and you prepared as humans to sort of have this? Because it can, on some level, be sort of scary to see technology coming in and taking away something that an actual human would have a human would have been delivering the food, but now we have these little robotic things delivering your food. And I don't know how you feel about it. I personally think it's just going to be the way it is, and we have to get on board with technology. And then maybe those jobs being taken away will create more jobs that help us in a way to advance the way we think. So instead of humans delivering food, maybe those humans can be working on something more important like scientific things, or how to move our advance ourself in medicine, or you know what I mean? Like, so maybe it's freeing up instead of looking at it like a negative thing, maybe trying to look at it as a positive thing. Maybe the advancement of these things and robots taking over human space, maybe it's going to help us be able to focus more on how to advance the world in medicine and things like that. So with that, I just saw something here. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining me today. And why I saw something here. Oh, somebody said, when are you going to tell about your porn star career? Well, let me just be honest here. I don't think that we need to have that conversation. I mean, if you really want to know about my porn career, I mean, I can make a live specifically to that, but I just don't think people are so. You might be interested, friend, and if you're really interested, you could watch my documentary. I have an actual documentary called Mr. Angel, and it's on Amazon. It's on the Amazon platform. So if you really Oh, thanks for becoming a new member. Thank you, Angela. I do appreciate that. Thank you so much. It means a lot. So honestly, if you want to know about my porn career, and I use that lightly because it was a million years ago, go ahead, do some research, and also go watch my documentary. It shows everything about that career. But I just don't think people are coming here to talk about that, as well as I don't necessarily want. I don't. It's not that I'm not embarrassed of it. No way, and I'm not shying away from it. But I don't necessarily think I created this channel to talk about that, even though I think it's an adult conversation. And also, here, let me just say this, and then let's move on. Pornography is created for adults. I don't believe there's such a thing called, I don't even want to say it, child blah blah. It's totally different. There's no such thing as that. Those kids are being put into a very negative, non-consensual. It's disgusting. That's not what I did. And now those things kind of have been sort of, oh, sorry, overlapped with each other. Totally not the same thing. I worked in a very specific part of this space made for adults, for consenting adults, specifically for people who wanted to see me. Never was I out there pushing that in front of people's faces. I do not believe that is a place. Not everyone wants to see it. So, I don't shy away from that conversation. And I do think that pornography has its bad and its good, like anything else. But I really want people to understand that pornography did great things for me, and it helped me move forward in my life and helped me move forward in my body. And it also helped a lot of other people sort of connect with their bodies sexually. So, however you feel about pornography, that's your choice. And I have no issues with that. But what I want to say is that you have to be able to have, a conversation about it and disagree with me, but not hate me. If and I'm really willing to have always that conversation. But I don't think that unless everybody here wants to talk about it, then that's a different thing. I remember you saying you were going, yeah, I did. I 100% did say that, but I want everybody else to join in. I don't want to alienate people. So I 100% have no issues to discuss it. And if everybody here is like, yeah, so let's just do this real quick and then let's move on. How many people here today, okay, of all of you people in the chat room, if you put a thumbs up or a thumbs down, we can count that real quick and then we can make it an episode. I have no issues with that. So if everybody here wants to talk about my career and why I got into it and what it did for me and how I feel about that particular industry, I'm 100% going to do it. But I think one of the reasons why I don't do it is because I don't want to alienate any of you, and not all of you are totally on board with discussing that. And I think today, so there you go. I got 2 thumbs up. So I think I got 3, 4. I got one that doesn't want to, 5, 6. So it looks more like pro than. But thanks for being honest about not wanting to talk about it. That also really helps me a lot. Because I don't necessarily think it's a space for everybody, but majority of people here would like to talk about it. So that says a lot to me about all of you. And not to discount the person who doesn't, it says a lot about you too. Like you don't want to talk about it, and that's okay. And there's another one who doesn't want to. So you see what I mean? So again, I maybe for members, that's a great idea, mommy. Thank you. That's a great idea. So that being said, I do think it's a great conversation, and I think it's a necessary conversation because I also think that if that particular in the adult entertainment industry gets a lot of bad publicity because of the bad players, right? So I'm going to overlap that with the trans community, right? I think the trans community is so, there's good representation, bad representation, representation that I, don't agree with, and some other. It's the same with any industry, right? I just want you to know that. So of course there's bad players in the pornography space. 100% there are. Yuck. But then there's actual good people in that industry who really do want to make things for consenting adults. It's the same with products. As you all know, I create products and specific products for specific groups of people, and you don't have to buy them. They're not for you. They're for certain types of people. And so that's why I really value my freedom in this country. And when I talk a lot about freedom of speech, and when I talk about freedom of representation, freedom of doing whatever you need to do as a consenting adult, that is a huge part of what I speak about, and why I don't shy away from having these conversations. But so far, I see more people would like to, but I think maybe I'll do a members talk. That would be a great idea. So now let's move forward here for a minute. Let me just have a sip of this. I'm back on coffee. Ah, it makes me crazy. So I want to let you know why I think this, what I want to say. I think I really think about what I want to sort of title my live shows here on Wednesdays. And I do make an effort to make a interesting title, um, because I think that it's important for me to be able to have a space to say things that don't necessarily get said, or even with my interviews that don't necessarily people that don't necessarily get interviewed who are part of our community. And so with that, today, the reason I grandpa group therapy, no kidding. Yeah, it's my therapy too, friend. So today I decided to call it misrepresented for many reasons, but here's as you can see, I'm kind of stuttering a little bit, and I'm kind of a little bit thinking while I'm saying this because it's kind of a difficult thing I'm about to say to you all, and I've been thinking about it since it happened to me, and I'm trying to be very cautious about what I'm about to say to you right now, and I'm trying to do it in a diplomatic way, and I'm trying to do it in a way that I'm not angry about it, but using this particular situation in a positive way, and in a way that I can show you that these things are happening. So here's where I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna keep it very vague because I'm waiting for something. So misrepresented. I have felt misrepresented. Thank you, Marianne. Oh, thank you, friend. That means a lot. Thank you. Thanks for always showing up too. I appreciate that a lot. So I felt misrepresented from the trans community for a while now. And if you don't know, I've been around for a long time, and I've done a lot of work in the trans community for many years, traveled the world, spoke to many, many people who didn't understand what it meant to be a transsexual. I've spoke all over the world at many, many, many events, many universities. And then a newer sort of idea came about trans, and I felt disconnected from trans. I didn't feel represented, and I felt like the space of mine, transsexual, somebody who transitions to live as a male, and somebody who has what we used to call a sex change, and somebody who has really accepted my diagnosis, and somebody who has been extremely honest about who and what I am, and I've never denied my biology. I mean, that was the whole part of being. Why do you think it's called FTM? Female to male. That's what FTM stands for. So our biology has always been attached. And as this trans space started to grow, and me as an older transsexual just started to feel less a part of, and I would say more alienated. And not only that, my voice, I felt like I wasn't being included as a voice anymore. And that I've had young people say, sit down, old man. They've actually said that to me. Sit down, old man. We'll take it from here. I mean, that is just so yucky. I don't know if it's mean. It's just yucky, and you don't need to do that. But that being said, and it started to go and go. Oh, thank you, Glitter Bloke. Great name. Thank you, my friend. Thanks for becoming a member. So here I am, kind of dealing with this, and I'm like, oh, it's the younger generation, because it is on some level. It's the younger generation. I'm cool with it. But then it started to go more and more. And then I started to get attacked by certain people in this community, which I use very lightly. And then I started saying, wait a minute here. I'm part of this community. You can't call this an inclusive community and then only pick and choose the people you want to be a part of that community. That's right. That's why I use it very lightly, Marnix. So then I started to be like a little bit pissed off. I'll be honest. I started to get a little my panties in a wad. I was like, wait the are you kidding? You're like 16 and you just started doing whatever you're doing, and you're telling me to sit down, you'll take it from here. And then you're also telling me that I'm not I'm transphobic, or I'm a bigot, or I'm, anti-trans. I mean, the stuff that just started coming out of these people's mouths. And that was really actually, I don't know if any of you can understand what I'm saying. If you've been in a community that all of a sudden you just were like, what happened to the community? Where's this thought process coming from? This does not in any way, shape, or form represent trans. This is a whole other level. And then I just started seeing it change and change. And then the pronoun thing came in, and then non-binary. Now, I want you to know, I don't dislike non-binary people. More power to you, my friend, but non-binary is not trans. And so non-binary started coming in, and then queer, and then all under the umbrella of trans. And then I was like, what's happening? And that was just, it was like as if that's it. No more trans community that I came from, a completely different trans space. And I'm not okay with that. And the reason why I'm not okay with that is because that's not representative of the trans community. I am a trans person, and I've been transitioned for 30 something years now. And now I'm looking at a space that once was very inclusive to all of us is non-inclusive. And so I'm going to try to tell you this real quick here without sort of revealing other parts of it, because I'm waiting, and I'll tell you what. So last week I got an invitation to come and speak at an event, and it was a trans event. And I was like, wow, this is so great. There's going to be a panel, and I'm being invited to speak. And that, because they called it a diverse and inclusive panel, and they wanted to include my voice as an elder and what I've contributed to this community. So I was like, wow, this is so awesome. Fantastic. People are willing now to start to have the conversation in the community with other people who have opposing opinions or who don't necessarily agree. This is great. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. So of course I got on it. Yeah, I can move my calendar around. I 100% want to be there, because they asked me for a fast reply, and I'm all about that. So I fix it. I fix my thing. I write them back right on. They're like, great, we're going to take care of you. Oh, hey, Courtney, nice to see you, friend. So Courtney says, thanks, Courtney. Thank you so much, friend. For me, that was the left. After 2020, Green Party specifically started being called a right-wing Nazi fascist, because that's what happens to me. But you see, even Courtney, who isn't even part of this community, but that's her other community, doing the same nonsense. So a lot of people's, and thanks, Courtney, I appreciate you. A lot of people started doing that, and it's so crazy. So here I am with this invitation that's asking me to speak at an inclusive and diverse panel. And I'm so excited, you guys. I'm thinking, man, the light's starting to shine through. People are willing to see different opinions in our community. And you're not even going to believe this. All of a sudden, I get an email. And the email says, sorry, we are uninviting you. I'm like, I'm actually being uninvited. And because we had a discussion. Oh, no, basically it said it in that. And don't worry, this is coming out. I'm going to put it all out there, but I'm going to tell you why I'm not being so forthcoming with who and what these people are. So then I said to myself, this is what? They're uninviting me? And as I read the email, it says, we had a discussion with some of the people who are going to be a part of this. And basically, somebody doesn't like me. And basically, they said, what we are something to the effect of that they were showing my social media posts and they don't align with what they're going to be discussing. And some people won't feel safe in that environment. Are you hearing me, everyone? Are you hearing this? I'm like, I had to read it like 5 times because I was like, wait a minute. I went back to the original invite that said, we're going to be having a diverse, inclusive panel about blah, blah, blah. We'd really love to have you. Now, let me say something right here. Anybody who knows the name Buck Angel pretty much knows I'm very outspoken. I have opinions. I'm not in sync with what's going on in the trans community. Anybody who knows me, all you got to do is Google it. Number one. Number two, if you're an event and you're inviting me, don't you Google the people you're inviting? And don't you kind of do a little background check before you invite them? Especially somebody like me, right? So I'm like, oh, thank you, Salvador. Thanks for becoming a member. Thanks so much, my friend. I'm just like, what? You didn't do your research on me? And number two, you said it was an inclusive, diverse panel. So I just was actually upset. I was, and I don't get upset that easy. I mean, I get upset, but I don't throw a temper tantrum. And I'm like, this is complete BS because what happened to the inclusive panel that you're inviting me to? What happened to diverse? And so basically, you're not having a diverse and inclusive panel. Secondly, there's some little baby who's on that panel who doesn't want to have the conversation with me. You know it. You all know it. That's exactly what happened. And when I show you all this, you'll see it says it right there. We were showing your social media and we believe that you will not have the same. Well, that's not diversity then. Yeah. Go look at my social media. Yeah, I do say things. Yeah, you would think you might want to have me on there so that the panel's not boring and everyone's sucking each other off on the panel and everyone's just saying the same thing over and over. You'd think you'd want somebody like me to say, hey, wait a minute here, though. I'm going to challenge you on that. But the little babies, they cannot handle any kind of pushback or any kind of debate. And I just proved it to you because I was uninvited to inclusivity. I was uninvited to inclusivity. Shame on you. Shame on all of you out there who think you are creating a diverse and inclusive. You're full of it. And I'm now, so you see me, I'm really not okay with this because you should have never invited me. You should have done your homework before you invited me. And how dare you uninvite me because of my social media. So I'm not telling you who it is right now because what I did is I sat for a minute, very upset, very angry, very sad. And I spoke with my partner and she's like, God, that is so gross. They're gross. Anyway, she really helped me. She calmed me down. She said, do not write the email you want to write. And you all know that's like a real thing. Go and spew. Hold on to that email. never press the send button. Just don't do it. Sit on it for a day. It's great to write it out, but do not send that email. There's a smarter way to do things. You and I both know it. So sit in your anger, sit in your my sadness. I did. I sat in it for a couple days and then I wrote them back, or maybe a couple hours. And then I wrote them back. And my wife helped me write them back. And she calmed me down. And she said, "You're going to send them a nice email." And I said, "You know what? You're right. I am." And I sent them a nice email and I said, "Wow, I'm really bummed to hear this." I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing here. It was much nicer than bummed, but I'm really bummed to hear this. And I thought you were going to be open to having conversation because you said it's a diverse and inclusive panel. And I was really excited to be able to sit with people because it sounded to me like you were really open to creating an environment of dialogue. And to see this email is not only upsetting for me, but I can't imagine that you had to write this email to me. And I'm very sorry that somebody put you in this position to write this email. Now, on the second email where they uninvited me, they said to me, "We are willing to have a conversation with you about this if you choose." I want to have a conversation immediately. So I wrote back, and yes, I would love to have a conversation with you about this. Please, can we? Because anyway, basically, that's what I said. Yes, I'm open to conversation. Please let me know when we can have this conversation. That was Friday of last week. Do you think I've heard back? Do you think I've heard back? You're right. I haven't heard back. Now, mind you, it was the weekend. I let that go. Now we're in Wednesday, and I still haven't heard back. So here's what I thought in my mind. I'm not going to be that guy who goes and slams it up on the internet and is like, because I'm just not going to do that. I I will be honest that my feelings were hurt, but those are just my feelings. And once I got over my feelings, now I'm back to myself again. I felt sorry for myself for a minute, and that's okay. We're allowed to do that. So there I am. I'm going to give this person a week. I'm going to give them a week. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and see if in a week they want to have a conversation with me. So now it's been Wednesday, and Friday will be a week. And after a week, I've decided that I'm going to write about this and I'm going to put it out on the internet and I'm going to expose who these people are because you'll be shocked at who these people are. And the fact that they're always talking about diversity, they're always talking about inclusivity, they're always talking about how the trans community is attacked. They just attacked a trans person. The same community and the same people who keep talking about the fact that they don't get to have things or they're not being included or they're not getting the things they need literally did that to me. Literally did that to me. It's horrible, you guys. And the reason, and it's not horrible for me. It's not horrible for me. It's horrible for us. I could put that email aside and just shove it down somewhere, but I don't think that's the appropriate thing to do. I think the appropriate thing to do at this point is to expose them. Because if I don't expose them, they'll continue to do this nonsense. Now, I'm not some big, huge influencer who has a million followers, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to make a dent with it, but I don't care. That's not the point. The point is that this stuff is happening in our supposedly inclusive community. It is not inclusive. I just proved it to you. They don't want to debate me. They don't want me to have a different opinion. They want me to say what they're saying. They want me to repeat their mantra. They want me to get on board with their ideology because if there's one person who's an outlier, it throws a crack in their ideology. And I just proved it to them. And so I had to take a negative. I guess really what I'm trying to say here to you all is I took a negative and I'm turning it into a positive. That's what I want you all to see. I'm turning something that really hurt my feelings, that really made me feel not a part of, which I have already felt not a part of this community for a while, and now just sort of reassured me that I'm not a part of this community and that they're continuing to try to shut my voice down and eventually just basically make me disappear and remove me from any historical events and anything historical that has to do with trans rights. I'm not going to let that happen. It's not going to happen. I work too hard. I have done a lot of work to help free transsexual people from stigma and from hate. And the fact that a community that's supposed to stand for these things doesn't, I have to. It's my duty. It is my actual duty to expose the ideology behind what these people are doing. And so, with that, that's why I call today misrepresented, because I'm being misrepresented. When somebody tells somebody else to look at my social media, and then that is exactly, I'm stamped this particular kind of person because you looked at my social media. My social media isn't a full representation of me. My social media is about opinions about certain things that are happening. It is not my whole persona or my being. It is not who I am. I'm not just this person on the internet. That's the dangerous part of what's happening, is that now we're all being held to be accountable by whatever we put on the internet. So that's a great idea. I see that, Seth. Somebody actually requested we do a panel on here. I would love that. It's hard for me to find any trans people who are completely opposed to what I have to say to have a conversation with me. They seem not to want to come and join me, and they seem not to want to have uh, a representation. So, yeah, Miss Jimmy's girl. I just saw Miss Jimmy's girl said, I just recently saw this video from about here, let me just bring it up. I just recently saw the video for about a year ago where that stupid woman said you were a trans pick me and suffered from internal transphobia and she wasn't even trans. Unbelievable. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you for putting that. Thank you, friend. No, no, that is called gaslighting, and that is true transphobia. When you come after an actual real trans, especially a trans elder, and say things like that about me, I'm just mad about the fact that they did it because of my social media posts. They miss they uninvited me because of my social media posts. Fascinating. Oh, elder trans. This is the panel right here. This is the panel. You know what? I think I'll contact Jubilee. I think I'll contact Jubilee. That's a great panel that we should have on Jubilee. I have a good connection there. What do you think about actually? I mean, it would be great for the show for here, but I think we'll get a bigger audience if we do it, because Jubilee does all these great ones, right? Yeah, Blair just was at a Jubilee one, which she said was insane. I'm glad they didn't pick me for that one because it was the last Jubilee one that Blair did was, I think, conservative trans versus woke or left or liberal, and I don't fit in either side of that. I think I'm too sort of middle ground there on some level. So I think that that's probably why I didn't get invited, because I wasn't. I'm not. I'm too sort of not on either side of that situation. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that so much. Inclusive diversity are just buzzwords for the ideology. There you go. That's Melissa, that's why I was like so happy when they reached out to me. I thought, oh my God, there's a break. People are actually wanting to have a real dialogue with people who have different opinions about what's happening. So when they wrote me back and said, well, somebody pointed out somebody on the panel, it was full on somebody on the panel who did not want to be in the same room with me because they're big ass pussy and they can't have a debate. So instead of saying that, it's not a safe space for me and I can't. So why don't you just tell that person to go away and continue to instead they remove me as the problem so that little baby can be in a safe space and talk about, well, but don't have any pushback. This is what I'm talking about. So you're right. Those are not real. I should have known it. When they wrote those on the words, I should have known it. I should have totally, but I thought for sure they did their research on me and they saw that it's like this, friends. If you ask Blair White to be on something, you know what you got. You know what you got. I feel like I'm in the same category as Blair. If you're asking Buck Angel to be on something, you know exactly what you got. So don't pretend like you don't know who I am. It's somebody on that place who could not handle me and said, look at his social media. And your social media, Buck, doesn't align with the panel. But That's not true. It does align with the panel if it's an inclusive and diverse channel. I mean, panel. So with that, I think Jubilee might be a really great space to bring on a completely different, like older, elder generation and a newer, more different generation. Okay. So that's right. So Blair's powerhouse, man. Blair's one of my great, great friends. I value Blair's friendship a lot. I know some people just dislike her. That's I don't care. Like anyway, you're not liked by everybody in the world, people. The most famous people in the world aren't liked by everybody. I mean, this idea that you have to be liked by everybody is just insane. And what we don't need to be doing is spewing hate at each other. If you don't like me, I don't know why you're here spewing hate at me. Just go find there's the world is huge. The internet is huge. I really believe people are looking. They're looking to feel mad, right? So they go to Blair's channel or they go to my channel, or they go to Marcus's channel, or they go to Ariel, they go to people that say things that piss them off. So they go there to just spew that because I believe that if you really I don't go to certain channels, you know that? I don't go to some of these YouTube influencer trans people. I don't even want to hear them because I already know that I'm not going to align with them. So I don't understand. Yeah, cognitive dissonance. Totally. I don't understand going to somebody's channel to feel mad and angry or to watch me, right? Or to just say, well, look at this, what he said. Yeah, I said it and I'll say it again. Kids should not transition. Are you insane? Kids don't know they're trans. I'll say it again and again and again and again. It's total child abuse. How dare you put a child in a space to make life changing life? Do you hear that word life? Life means forever. It doesn't mean here life changing. How dare you put a child in a position to make those choices? That is child abuse. Because we know we have the stats, we have everything. You people just want to ignore it. We can show you that it doesn't work. We can show you that many of those people regretted doing it. We can show you that people are detransitioning. We can show you the actual medical evidence that Lupron destroys the body. And we don't even need to show you it in kids. We can show you it in adults. If it's doing that to adults, what do you think it's doing to a little kid's body who hasn't even had the chance to go through puberty? It's ripping apart women's like reproductive systems, their hormonal balances. Go read anything about Lupron and women using it. You will be mortified that that's what they're giving to children. Yeah, it's the recreational rage that's so because you can, right, Cecilia? Because you can be angry. Because it makes you seem like you're more involved if you're angry. It seems like you're more like part of it if you're angry. Thank you, Marianne. How dare they uninvited you? Just, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. I was uninvited to inclusivity. That's going to be the name of my article. And I'm going to send it to every newspaper. I'm going to send it to every media outlet. I'm not even kidding you. I think it's so instead of being mad about it, because I was mad, I was like, how dare you invite me and uninvite me? And then ask me for an answer like that. So I did it and I changed my schedule. And then they're like, whoops, sorry, we shouldn't have invited you. I mean, it's kind of funny if you think about it, but it's also really disgusting. And it really just speaks volumes to what's actually happening in this community. They don't want conversation, people. They don't. They do not want opposing opinions, even within their own community. That's the scary part. Even within the own community where they use all of these buzzwords, and you're right, they're buzzwords for ideology now. They're not even real. We're going to include everybody except, right? We're going to have different opinions, except, I mean, it's comical. It's actually comical. And let's hope Lupron, right. Here we go. Lupron also apparently stunts intelligence. It does. It actually does stunt intelligence. And it keeps you in a state of adolescence. So it's true. It actually keeps you in a state of adolescence because you can see the kids who are taking puberty blockers and maybe some of them are detransitioning, but even hormones, even transitioning at a young age, it can mess with you and make you have like your brain isn't growing. So even at 19, if your brain isn't done growing at 19. We know this. This is an actual fact. Don't let them gaslight you. Your brain doesn't finish growing until the age of like 25. And I actually interviewed an autistic woman yesterday, and she was also telling me in autism, also the brain grows slower and that maturity. So there's a maturity thing that's happening when you give a kid something to block their puberty. What's puberty? We all know what puberty is. It's going from a child to an adult. That's what puberty is. You're literally transforming to an adult space, right? So things are growing, brain, body, you know, genitals, everything's growing into that next stage of life. That's what puberty is. So the only reason they want to stop puberty is for what? For what? They want to stop puberty. Does anybody know why they want to stop puberty? Thank you, friend. I appreciate that, Svet. Thank you so much, friend. You all know why they want to stop puberty. It's only a physical thing. It's only a physical thing. Seth says, but I studied Freud's psychosexual stage theory. Yes, I know Freud is controversial, but no, it's okay. Hear me out. And it's actually insane that anyone could say puberty blockers. Yeah, that's right. No, but it's okay. You need to study those people, friend. Thank you. Thank you, Seth. You need to study those people. So puberty is what? Puberty is for the reason they want to block puberty is, right? The reason why is characteristics. What do I mean by that? Physical characteristics. That's the only reason they want to stop puberty, not for any other reason. They just want to stop. Let's say it's a little boy who thinks they're a little girl, okay? And this little boy is 10 and he hasn't gone through puberty yet, but he really wants to be a girl. He really wants to be a girl. I'm a girl, mommy, or I'm trans, right? And then the doctor says, well, let's give them some puberty medicine that blocks the puberty. It's just a pause button. That's what they call it, a pause button. Impossible. You're not pausing anything. So there you go. And you take this period of time because here's what's happening. That little boy is transitioning into a man during puberty, right? This is what happens. You go from a boy to a man. Things start to change, hair growth, your voice starts to change. Maybe you get an Adam's apple. Maybe you start getting more male characteristics like shoulders and hands. And these are all things that happen for males and females. You get different things, but I'm using the male one specifically for a reason. So now they give this little boy, right, some puberty blockers to stop the physical characteristics of this little boy becoming a man. You see where I'm getting with this? You see where I'm getting? So it has nothing to do with a mental state of being, nothing whatsoever. They're not pausing, like helping the kid kind of navigate what it means to be a boy and a girl. They're not doing any of that. They're just affirming that this kid says he's a girl for whatever reason. Could be a billion reasons why this little boy says he's a girl, but they're just affirming it, slamming the kid with puberty blockers to pause, which is not true. You're not pausing anything. You're stopping. You can't pause and open up again on puberty. So here's a particular part of this puberty blocked. Let's just say it's a year. So now that year of puberty was not paused, people. It was taken away so that the kid didn't grow an Adam's apple, big shoulders. Now he's what is he in a state of? He's in a state of adolescence. So now here's an adolescent child who's no longer a boy, but becoming a girl. We've paused the puberty, which is so incredibly important medically, as well as physically, as well as just to be adjusted into the world. You've paused brain growth. You've paused body growth. You've paused whatever other characteristics are going to be there for this kid to be a male. You've paused genital growth. So I don't know if a lot of you, that's right, arrested development. That's a great statement. So I don't know if all of you have seen my interview here with his name, the guy who has that specific thing about he was born without puberty. That's a great listen to him. He's so knowledgeable. I learned a lot of this from him. He was the interview before the one today. Gosh, what was his name, Seth? I can't remember. Anyway, so here we are. This is what you all need to understand. They're only using the puberty blockers to pause characteristics. Characteristics. Now, what if that child gets to be a year on the puberty blockers, comes out of it? Now he's all this time being raised as a little girl. So now this little boy is being raised as a little girl on puberty blockers, doesn't have masculine characteristics, whatever that means, doesn't have an Adam's apple, or maybe his voice isn't changing. He stays in a pubescent state. Also, his brain isn't growing. Now he gets a year or two into it, strictly for vanity. That's right, Mr. Corey. It's a vanity thing. There you go. Now what happens? Let's just say the kid gets to be 13 or 14 and changes their mind. Let's just say. Let's just say. This little boy, who's now this little girl, because we forced puberty blockers down his throat, decided that he's no longer a little girl. I don't feel like a little girl anymore, mommy. I want to be a boy again. Now what? How do we fix that? Because now you've just destroyed this little boy's body. And I'm not saying something that hasn't already happened, by the way. I'm not saying something, I'm saying something that's already happened. It's happened in a small amount. But what's going to happen when we continue giving these puberty blockers to little kids? And as long as they're going, and what happens when they're starting to change their mind? There is no going back. That's exactly the answer. There is no going back. And thank you, Lynn, for reminding me that. So also, the puberty blockers cause sterilization. So now what happens with sterilization is you can no longer procreate. You can also lose your what? Orgasms, sexual space. You have no sexual functioning. What do we do? I mean, I can't even believe that we're having this conversation. We're actually having this conversation. We're having the conversation whether it's ethical to give a child something that will block their puberty because we don't want them to have big shoulders or big feet or characteristics of a girl or a boy because these kids are trans. Imagine that we're saying this. Imagine that we're saying this. It's just shocking to me. You've got to understand that I was one of these kids. I liked looking like a boy. I liked playing with boy toys. I liked hanging out with the boys. I liked being dirty. I liked G.I. Joe. I liked Tonka trucks. I beat my sisters up. I mean, I could go on and on. I couldn't stand being with the girls. I was the best skateboarder on the block. I went through puberty. I made it to the other side. I struggled in high school. More about my sexuality than my gender, by the way. I liked girls, and I was a girl. And this is in the 70s. Hi, Angela. Thank you so much, friend. The theys can't get to your kids if they, as parents, don't allow them to. That's right. I totally agree with you. Quit giving them phones and unsupervised access. Totally agree with you. We can't shelter them completely. I know that. But no, 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 no. I shelter mine. So you know. I shelter mine. I gave him a phone. He has a phone, but that phone is monitored and he is not able to do any of that stuff. He's very monitored around all of that. I mean, he is on Discord, I'll be honest, but we monitor that with his friends. So I want to get back to this. I don't understand what people are seeing that they think puberty blockers are good. Do you? Can anybody here tell me why would anybody in their right mind think that stunting a child's growth physically is the appropriate thing to do to a 10-year-old just because they might have a different way of being. Just because they dress like a girl or a boy, just because they like the color pink, just because they're showing a different way than every other girl or boy. So I went through it all, people. It's why I'm allowed. I don't care what anybody says. I am allowed. You are as well. But I really am, as a transsexual older person, I am allowed to have this opinion. And I have this opinion. And I'm questioning this trans ideology, because that's what it is. I'm questioning WPATH. Questioning affirmative therapists. I'm questioning Planned Parenthood. I'm questioning all of you out there who keep calling this gender affirming care. Where's the care? What happens to the kid at Planned Parenthood who went in at 15 and had what's it called? The consent. You signed a consent form at 15. You did, and you were told all the pros and cons. Do you think a 15-year-old? Do you think a 15-year-old is actually looking at this and going, oh yeah, who cares? Oh yeah, I'm gonna lie. Remember they said lie about having gender dysphoria. There's actually trans people who tell other people to lie about gender dysphoria. So they're all checking off the boxes at 15, because that's what you do at 15. You don't give a shit. You just want what you want, what you want. And then you're just going to click that stuff off at 15, not knowing the consequences in 5 years. So how are we supposed to be okay with Planned Parenthood allowing a 15 and a 16-year-old to walk in, check off all the boxes because they know who they are, get breast surgery, get testosterone in 15 minutes, and then turn around in 2 years? Because it's true. I've interviewed them. I speak to them. It's growing faster and faster. Detransitioner. If you listen to them, they will keep telling you, nobody stopped me. Did you hear what I just said? Nobody stopped me. And then what do we hear from the crazies? You were never trans in the first place. You never should have transitioned. It's your fault. Shut up. You're going to take away all of our rights. That's what they say to people who detransitioning, who were told by your gender affirmation care that they should, that no, they were told that they were trans by you, 16. Oh, they signed a consent form at 15. Now it's their fault? You're actually blaming a kid who made a choice because they were so sucked into what it meant to be trans, and it took getting their boobs removed to go, oh my God, what did I just do? Aren't you pissed? Aren't you pissed? Because if you're not, something's not right. You should be pissed that we have kids in a space that we're expecting them to make life kids. Life. I'm not talking about making a decision of what university they're going to, or making a decision to get a license to drive a car, or even making a decision to drink a glass of wine at 16. I'm not talking about that. All of those things can be reversed. All of them. You cannot reverse medical procedures ever. And that includes puberty blockers. And the fact that we have people out here spewing that puberty blockers are safe when we all know that they're not safe. They do not have long-term studies on it. We know the Dutch study shows that they're not. The longest study in the world is the Dutch study. It specifically shows, nope, doesn't work. They were doing that study for 30 years, people. Nope, doesn't work. And the US is like, puberty blockers are safe. And then I get shut down. Me. I get told I'm the bad tranny. I get told I don't align with the trans community. I get told that I am not inclusive. I get told that what I'm saying is dangerous and makes people feel unsafe. But what about me? I don't like what they're saying in this community. It doesn't make me feel safe. I don't feel safe. I don't feel as if I'm being heard. How come my opinion doesn't count in that? Do you see that? Rosewell, thank you, my friend. How you doing, buddy? They say I trust the kid to make that's right, that's what they say. And I'm looking at my bigger screen here because I can read it better. They say, "I trust the kid to make the right decision and then blame it all on the kid when the transition fails." That's very profound right there. That's it. That's exactly what I'm trying to convey to all of you. So tell the kid it's so hypocritical. It's such insane thinking. Yeah, kids know who they are. Give them some meds. And then when they're like, "I'm not," they're like, "Well, you shouldn't have done it." Th- what? What world are we living in? Me and you as adults, every single one of you here is an adult. Me and you as adults have oh man, we are the adults in the room. We are the ones who have to stand up against this stuff. We are the ones who have to protect these kids. They're pretending like they're protecting kids. They are not protecting kids. And then when we say we don't like you doing that to the kids, we're the bad ones. We're the ones who are doing child abuse. We're the ones who are the Nazis. We're the ones who are doing what? What? You see how that is actual real gaslighting. They're trying to make you second guess yourself. That's gaslighting. When they try to make you think, well, wait, maybe I am not saying that right. Well, wait, don't you ever second guess yourself when it comes to these kids. Don't you ever, because you are right when you say these kids, there's no way they are trans. Just not happening. I don't care what you say to me. I am one of those kids, along with a bunch of other kids I grew up with. We were all over the place with our gender spectrum. We all dressed differently. We all played with different toys. We all did our things. I'm like the only one who transitioned. All of the rest of those people who I know today live in a completely normal life. Being trans is not normal, people. This idea that they want to normalize trans is scary. It is a disorder that sucks beyond belief. I don't want anyone to live with this disorder. If you don't have the disorder, you are in an awesome space, friend. If you have this disorder, it sucks, but we can help you and you can live a positive life. But it's something you're going to live with for the rest of your life. They are showing the world that trans is normal. No, it is not. It's a mental disorder that sucks beyond belief. You struggle in your space for a long time before you even realize what's going on. And then maybe you're going to be okay. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're going to struggle with it for the rest of your life. Why would we ever want to put somebody in that space? Why? Why would we ever want to even tell a kid they're something they're not? And why are we not giving these kids actual real therapy? Great question, Bronny says, Buck, if there was a treatment for GD that was not surgeries and hormones, would you? I would have considered it in 2 seconds. I don't want to be this person. I am this person. It's like saying, do you want to have cancer or not? Well, of course, I'm going to go and get chemo and I'm going to do all the things I can to get rid of the cancer. I don't live in my disorder. That's the other thing that I want you all to see. I don't live in my disorder. I have a disorder that I live with. I don't live in it and I'm not it. I don't walk the world this way. It's something that you have, you deal with, you work on, you function, but that's not what we're telling the young generation. We're telling the young generation that you're trans and you're special and everyone else needs to get out of your way and that you're going to be this amazing person in life. No, you're not, especially if you're not dealing with why you think you have gender dysphoria. And now today we're noticing that a lot of these kids who are claiming to have gender dysphoria or claiming to be trans who don't have gender dysphoria, but just self ID. And we're noticing a lot of these kids have a lot of trauma. None of these therapists are attaching themselves to working on the trauma. None of them. None of the affirmation therapists. They're not allowed to. Did you know that? They're not allowed to push back on the kid and say, wait a minute, why do you think you have gender dysphoria and why do you think you're trans? That's what mine did. Push back on me until I was like, oh, I can't live like this anymore. At 30, I lived a full life before I transitioned. Thank God. I dipped my toe in everything. Thank God. It's why I'm solid 30 years of transition. And I'll keep saying it. No child should make that choice. You can't make that choice. It's impossible to make a life-changing choice at 10, and even 20, it's difficult to do. I just want you all to know this. I'm not shutting up. I'm not shutting up. People can continue to report me here. People can continue to report me on all my social media, call me transphobic, just to uninvite me, uninvite me to inclusivity. I mean, you gotta laugh. It just is so it's so classic of what's happening in this whole bullshit space. Thanks, Courtney. GD is the only mental disorder being normalized. Exactly. As an identity. What about borderline? Exactly. Why is trans, which is an actual disorder, being normalized as something normal? This is not normal, people. It's not bad. I'm not a bad person for being trans, and you shouldn't hate me. But you should know that it's a disorder, and you should know that it's not something I can control, nor can any other trans person control. It's why these people who are claiming to be trans with a no diagnosis or understanding what the long-term ramifications of this diagnosis are, they're just being told trans is beautiful, trans is joy, trans is amazing, you're going to be amazing, everything is amazing, you're amazing until you crash and burn, and no one's there for you anymore because you're not amazing anymore. And you're not talking about trans joy. You're talking about how you wish you never did it. That's one thing I'll never say. I'll never say I wished I never did it. I'm so happy I did it. You see the difference? I'm not mad at detransitioners. I'm not even mad at the people who hate me. I'm mad at the system. And I'm mad at the fact that we have professionals in our medical space, in our therapy space, in our psychology space who are lying and cheating and stealing from children. And here we stand acting as if like we're doing the right thing. When I, as an older transsexual, and many more of us are saying, no, I am very happy I did not transition as a child. I am very happy I lived the life I lived. And every child should have the opportunity to go through puberty, through childhood, through a little bit of uncomfortability to figure out on their own who and what they are. They should never have to rely on their parents for that. Thank you, Red Rabbit. Thank you, friend. Wait until, God, I know AI starts expressing human nuance feeling. Do we provide them rights or do we become the gatekeepers of emotion? If an AI, okay, that's going to be a really difficult conversation. AI feels human. Is it human? No, it's a brilliant question. It's a brilliant question. And that's the slippery slope. We're desexualizing kids. These kids might also be gay kids. Me and you know that. These kids might be coming into their sexuality, and their sexuality might being used against them on a means that says, "Oh, no, 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 you're just a trans kid. You're not a gay kid. No, 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 no. You're just a trans kid." That's what I see. Oh, thank you, Gabriel. I appreciate you a lot. Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much to everybody for showing up today. I do always appreciate you. I hope you feel it from me. I do. These conversations aren't easy. They're difficult. And as you see, my social media gets used against me now, which is quite funny. And it just makes me want to scream louder. That's all it does to me. It makes me mad that I'm being misrepresented. Instead of letting me have the conversation with you, you believe other people. That's the part where I'm pissed off about being disinvited, being, uninvited, because they didn't listen to me. They only listened to the other person. And that's not fair to me. Why aren't you having the conversation with me? The clock is ticking, just so you know out there. The clock is ticking. I will hold on for 1 week to hear back from you. And then I'm putting it out there. And then game on, because you can't play with me like that. It's not fair. You are not a representation of an actual real community. You are shutting down voices that have also done work in this community. And you are not being fair and giving an open platform for all of us to have the conversation. So if you come at me and you say, I want an inclusive and a diverse community and a diverse panel, yet you don't invite diversity, you're full of shit. And I'm going to call you out on it because that's what I do. So Everybody, don't forget, live for yourself first. Remember, put on the oxygen mask first before you can help others. Pay attention to that in the plane because it really means something. If you don't put your own oxygen mask on first, you're going to pass out and not be able to help anybody. So I'm putting my oxygen mask on first before I even help any of you. I am going to make sure that my oxygen mask is going to help you now. And I'm going to use these incredibly horrible stories of our community to help us get back to a space. And that's why I want you to know that I'm willing to put myself out there and I'm willing for people to use my social media against me because that means I'm doing something right. If I showed you some of the emails I've been getting lately from conservative, I love it. This is how they started off. I'm a conservative white man. I'm like, I don't care. But of course, that's how you have to start your goddamn email now because everyone's so crazy about everything now and like cis white men are the devil. It's so crazy. So I just find it fascinating that I get so many of these. And when I read you this email, you're going to be blown away. This man was so gracious and such a beautiful email to me and told me what I'm doing is so important and that never to shut up and that he said to me that he shares it with all of his conservative friends and that he believes that this is the way we're going to get back to the space that we have lost is by having these kind of important the irony. Totally. I mean, you know what, you guys? I'm so happy I'm 60. Oh, I'm at 61 because I just see things. My vantage point is here, and I just see things in such a different way. I'm so glad I'm not a youngster right now because, oh God, it's got to be so difficult. It's just got to be so difficult to live in this time right now. But I'm going to leave you with this: speak out. Don't be fearful of people. They're going to come at you because your opinion, but so what? You have every right to speak your mind. We are supposed to be able to do that. And if we get too scared to do that, they're going to win and they're going to silence us. And we're not going to have these platforms. And these platforms are silencing us, by the way. You all know that. Now you're guilty before proven innocent, just so you know. It used to be the other way around. You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but now it's literally you're guilty. You're guilty by the public opinion. You are now guilty about. I'm like, what? Wait a minute here. Are you actually taking a poll or is this your own opinion about it? So have a beautiful day, everybody. Yeah. Thanks, Seth. Seth got the new video up. I hope you all are watching it. It's an excellent interview. I really did love it so much. And it's with a young man who was a young gay man, by the way, who was actually in Antifa and he left Antifa. And the story is so, thanks, Marnix. Yeah, if you all could hit the like button for me, it's hard for me. It's hard for me to sort of ask you to do these things because I don't want you to ever feel like you're here to sort of do that. But what I do need to say is this, and is that it helps. It helps to get my videos to people who I think really do need to see this. And so when you do the like and comment and all that, it just really, really, really helps get these videos hopefully to somebody who needs to see it. So that's just what I'm going to say. I don't want to feel that I'm pressuring anybody into that, but thank you all so much. It does mean a lot to me. And so with that, we're going to have a beautiful rest of our day. It's hump day. And then I'm going to be putting out a couple new videos this week and I have some amazing interviews coming for you all. And if you ever have any suggestions of anybody who you want me to interview, just send them to Seth, and the email is in the bio of this channel, and it's buckangelmanagement at Gmail, and I think it's MGMT. Put it here real quick for me, Seth. And I value your time, and I value having these conversations with you. And I do see a little bit of something coming from all of this. So you all have a beautiful day. There it is, right there. So I'll put it up here real quick. And I'll leave it with that. So anybody knows anybody or has any, and I want to do everybody. It's not, they don't have to just be about the trans community. I really, if you notice, I really want to bring awareness and voices to all of what's happening in this crazy, crazy, crazy world. Let's look at the light at the end of the tunnel. Have an awesome day, everybody. And I'll see you all later.